All right, this meeting is being recorded as of right now. So you can keep your camera on or off. If you don't want to ask your own questions, you can send it in the chat and I will ask the question for you. But the meeting will be recorded and it is going to be posted to our YouTube channel so that anybody who could not make the meeting today will be able to watch the presentation. Get back here. Okay. See if we get any more people. Like I said, this meeting is being recorded. So if you want your, more people. I'm going to say that a lot here in the beginning until everybody's here. The meeting is going to be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. So if you do not want your camera to be on, please turn it off and please mute your microphone unless you have a question. So good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and well. We're all busy these days with the changing requirements that are being brought upon us. Our YouTube channel, if you search in YouTube, Capital District Head Mechanics Association, you'll see our logo. You can sign into that. You can subscribe if you want. There's also a link to some training videos that I have. Plus, the NIAC has their link is also there if anybody is interested. Or you can just strictly view our meetings on this site. I'm probably going to post the meeting for about a month, so each month the next meeting will take over, and that'll give everybody that didn't have a chance to make the meeting, they can watch it, they can review it, they can ask questions, they can text me, they can email me, and we'll make sure that your questions get answered. So our last meeting was held on April 14th. Cody Shamrock from Leonard Bus Sales presented on accident mitigation. Now his video is being posted on our channel now, and it's had, I want to say, the last time I looked, it was 27 views. And his video was about 45 minutes long. So that's quite a few people that were able to take advantage of the information that was provided. They couldn't make the meeting anyway. So some of the points from him, because we had about 20 cameras that were live on that. Now, like I said, some of these cameras have 5 or 6 people watching them. Some have 2, some have 1. So there's a decent amount of people watching these. And now we have just had 27 other people watching our recorded presentation on our YouTube channel. So with the accident mitigation is the Wingman. There's an advanced system, which is the base model, and then there's a fusion upgrade. The Wingman, Wingman Advanced, which is the most common, uses adaptive cruise, sets following distance. It has an audible beep when you follow too closely to another vehicle. There are impact alerts. The collision mitigation will apply the foundation brakes. Now, it's not a gradual stop either. We're told that they come on to stop you last minute. So there's no gradual stop. The Fusion is a little different. It's got a windshield camera, and it brakes for stationary and slower moving objects. It can also recognize speed limit signs versus actual speed. And you cannot relocate that camera. It has to be right in the windshield, right where it is. We use Bendix ACOM software to troubleshoot and diagnose it, which is no longer free. The Bendix software is about $400 a year. You use a digital angle gauge to align the radar. And we're being told that the DOT inspections do not change due to this. I do have a question that was asked about the acts of mitigation that we're going to go over here soon. Along with this, we are not going to spotlight a district. One more. We're not going to spotlight a district to do the time. We just want to make sure that we have enough. But for all of you that do not normally attend, we like to spotlight as a school district and just go over how many mechanics they have, the bus garage. We'll show pictures of their fleet, pictures of if they got a new lift, if they got a new air conditioning machine, interesting stuff like that. And for those of you who just joined, this meeting is being recorded and it's going to be posted to our YouTube channel. Search YouTube, Capital District Head Mechanics Association. You'll see our logo. You can click on that, sign in, and all of our presentations will be there. So that's where this is going to be posted. If you have any questions that you don't want to ask yourself, you can text them or use the chat and I will ask the question. So today's meeting is the roundtable discussion we have Tom Ward from he's the Region 1 Bus Inspection Supervisor, excuse me. And we have Jeff Corey, who is the Field Operations Manager. So they will both be here answering questions that we might have. I asked all of you to send me your questions, and I do have a list of them. I appreciate all the input here that we're getting. I think it's going to be a good meeting. And that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Jeff Corey. Jeff.
Good morning. Good morning.
The floor is yours.
Excuse me?
I said the floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I just want to take a minute to thank everyone for taking time out to join. We've done these DOT roundtables in the past. I think they come out very well for the information, and they were received well on both sides, ours and yours. I just want to go over currently for the bus inspection program, we have 101 field inspectors. We have 11 field supervisors, 3 main office managers, which include myself. Sometimes you'll hear from Chad Smith or Jim Leonard. And also we have 3 support staff. They're kind of behind the scenes. They do our BusNet program. They'll do data draws that we need to go through computers. So they're all behind the scenes. And for the new guys that came in, our director, Larry Scotto, retired, I believe, August of 19. I might be wrong on that date. But we do have a new acting director, Mark Berger. He's brought a lot of knowledge to the program, great communications down through the ranks. So I think it's going to be a very good change for everyone, including us and you guys. One of the big changes that we made, I believe, January of 20, all of the field staff became main office employees. So there's no more regions. Basically, the state is all one big inspection program. It's all run through the main office now. So again, the communications have gone much better. And currently, for those 101 inspectors, we're currently in the hiring process for 5 inspectors, mainly downstate at this point, Westchester and New York City area. We inspect about 65,000 vehicles. That's in the program, so that equals about 130,000 inspections a year throughout the state. And we're very pleased. We just ran the 2021 profiles, and the out of service rate is down to 3.3% out of service. That's great. It shows that everyone is really trying the best they can. So we hope to improve on that. The yearly profiles have just been printed. They're being reviewed and they should be out in the mail very shortly, within the next couple weeks. So I'll be looking in the mailboxes. And as a reminder, those are mailed to the address that we have on file. So if mail-in addresses have changed, we always need those updates to put into the program to mail the profiles. And another thing I want to touch on is, I know 2020 with the COVID, everyone's had a hard time. I think we all pulled it together very good. There was a lot of uncertainties at the beginning and a lot of positive things came out of it, if we want to look at it that way. Things have changed and we made some improvements on communications and how we do things. The other thing is New York State DOT works with our counterparts at the state police, DMV, and state ed. We have weekly meetings. Sometimes they're 5 minutes, sometimes they're a half hour. So information is shared back and forth between all of these agencies to come up with the best program that we can put together. And the last thing before we start questions, in 2019, fall of 2019, we rolled out a new inspection program, which is our BusNet system. It was bumpy at the beginning. Things got much better. It gives us much more accurate data. And also now the MC300s are emailed directly to the operators. Again, if the email address changes, we must know that so we can get the report to the correct people. And some garages actually set up a separate email just for those reports. So it doesn't go to one person, it goes to a general mailbox. So with that, if there's no questions, I know Dan has a bunch of questions. And one thing I know Dan stated, I do have Tom Ward, which is the Albany area supervisor. He's been with the department a long time and is very knowledgeable. And that's the introduction for now.
Okay. That being said, we're going to move on to some questions here. First question that I have is, can we still have hand sanitizer dispensers installed on the buses after the executive order?
Right now, the governor has a state of emergency in effect for New York State. As long as the state of emergency is valid, hand sanitizers can be used on school buses like we have been for the last year. After the state of emergency is removed, we're going to look at all of the data we have and we'll get with our counterpart at state ed and we'll come up with a plan, the safest plan to move forward with it. So at this point, yes, you can, up through the state of emergency is canceled.
Okay, and then if it did come to that, we would have, I believe it was 15 days.
We will give 30 days notice.
Okay, all right, perfect. Everybody's good with that? Does anybody have anything to add to that question? If you do, just unmute your microphone or you can text me if you have anything to add. And that goes through all the questions. Just want to make sure everybody gets any questions that they have answered. Okay, so the second question. If we have a bus with accident mitigation, which ties into the ABS, and because of that, an ABS light is triggered during the inspection, is that a failure?
I just want to refer back to, and I don't like to use brands, but Cody Shamrock did a great presentation last month on the mitigation system. He did indicate that if the system has a failure, it will set a ABS light or a traction control light. If we're actively doing the inspection and the lights are set at that point, we do allow those lights to be reset to see if they come back on. We have to remember, as far as the inspector goes, we don't know if it's a fault of the ABS system or the mitigation system. So if the lights are illuminated at the time of inspection, they're cleared one time and they reset, we will place the vehicle out of service.
Okay, is everybody good with that? Everybody, nobody has anything to add to the accident mitigation? If you do, like I said, you can always pipe in. There's going to be a time at the end of this to ask any questions that we come up with, or that any of you have come up with, during this or. Okay, question number 3. Has the predictive stop arm been approved by DOT? And that's predictive stop arm technologies from Scion. If so, will this become part of the inspection?
Currently, we have a beta testing program through Scion. There's 2 schools, and actually a school and a contractor is Shenandoah School and Suffolk Transportation down on the island. They do have buses with the predictive stop arm installed, and we're going through the data that Scion gives back, and also the school district's responses, pros and cons for the system. For the people that does not know what a predictive stop arm is, it's a sensor that's on the stop arm. When it's deployed, lights are on. If the vehicle is approaching the front of the bus quickly and the stop arm senses that it's not going to stop in time, it actually gives an alert to the driver and also an audible alert to the student crossing. So, but we do have the testing going on currently. And to answer the question, is it going to be part of the inspection? Yes, as any option that's installed on a school bus, it must operate as designed. We did put out preliminary information. If the system, particularly the predictive stop arm, is not operational, that it will not put the bus out of service, that it'll be a note that it has to be repaired. And that may change after the testing is done, but currently that is our guidance on that.
Okay. We are one of the schools that do have it at Shenandoah, and so it is kind of a neat system. I'm thinking of putting a video together to explain how it all works, and we will post that later on. But is everybody good with the answer that was given by Jeff Corey? Okay. Question number 4. Does DOT keep any records of approved repair procedures? Now, an example of this is like a floor stringer or wheelchair lift repairs. If we had to repair, like weld, or if we had to weld up a stringer, would you guys at DOT be able to provide us with approved procedures?
Basically, to answer that, DOT, we're not engineers. The best source for that information would be your distributors, which would go through the manufacturers. We would accept any published procedure from the OEM or a industry accepted procedure on the repairs. So again, the best source is your distributors and the manufacturers. They have the engineers on the staff that can provide the correct information.
Okay, and then we would have to have documentation of that to show you that it is an approved repair.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so we're on our own to seek out the correct procedure.
Yes, because basically some of those repairs change sometimes quite often, or there's certain areas, take a frame if it's rusted through. Not all the repairs are for the complete frame. So you may have to have a repair drawn up for that particular area of the frame. And I'm just using that as one example. Mm-hmm. And we all know the floor stringers, they have multiple repair procedures dependent on the extent of the damage or rust. So, there's many repair procedures out there.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Any questions about repairing? All right, question number 5. Do the windows before and behind an emergency exit window need to be labeled with the stickers that, instructions for the emergency window are located to the seat behind or before?
Okay, we're getting into pretty technical area, which is fine, but under Federal 571-217, it states that all passengers must be able to identify the emergency exit. On school buses, and again, if the window spans 2 seats, they do have to be labeled that the exit handle or release is in the seat prior or behind the seat that you're sitting in. School buses, I have never witnessed this. Usually all of the emergency exit is in the same aisle with the seat. You get into larger coach buses or adult buses, that's where a seat may be split on the emergency window. In that case, they would have to be labeled where the control is for that window, the emergency release.
Okay. I mean, that would be a B failure, or would that be an A?
Yeah, that would be a labeling failure, yes.
Okay.
Emergency label B.
Okay. Next question, question number 6. Do fire extinguishers on the buses need to be inspected every year by a licensed company, such as Albany Fire Extinguisher? Or is the fire extinguisher deemed acceptable so long as it's in the green?
Yes, for DOT purposes, as long as the gauge shows in the green, is secured properly, and is the correct type for the vehicle, that's what DOT checks. We do not check any yearly inspection.
Okay.
And I would like to expand on that. During your 30-day services, the fire extinguisher should be removed, tap the bottom, because as we all know, as that extinguisher lays on its side or stands on the end, the powder can actually compact, and when it's time to be used, it will not come out as a powder. So just a 30-day maintenance, you should be tapping the bottom of these extinguishers to make sure the powder is not compacted. But again, we wouldn't know if you did that. I'm just throwing that out there as a PM item.
Okay. Question number 7. If a district had to shut down and forego the inspections due to COVID, would the buses be used before they are re-inspected? Like school starts back up, they've got, say, 30 buses, and they need to pick up kids. Is that okay, or would they have to hold on to all these buses and get 6 inspected at a time until they're all caught up?
Yeah, currently there's an executive order that's will sunset on May 19th, which I believe is next Tuesday or Wednesday. But May 19th, the executive order expires. So currently, if you have any buses that have expired certificates, they are legal to run, not inspected. Again, next week on May 19th, that order is no longer in effect, and they will be illegal to run. One of the things I want to point out, if during the pandemic, if the plates were turned in and insurance canceled, those buses do not qualify for the executive order. It's the only ones that were kept running and in service the executive order applies to. But there's only one more week, like I said, there's one more week and that will sunset. At that point, all vehicles must be inspected. And that number is down, just to give you an idea, as of this morning, that number is down to 200 vehicles throughout the state. When we started last May, June timeframe, we were up in the thousands. So on your side and our side, we made great progress on getting these inspected.
Okay. All right. I know that was I had a few questions about that, and I want to make sure that I asked it the proper way. I kind of summed them together. So if anybody does want to elaborate and ask any specific parts of that question, feel free to do so at this time. Okay. Question number 8. If the etching in the safety glass is faded and worn off, like in the entrance door, is this a failure? Even though, other than the little icon being missing, the glass is in perfect condition.
Well, this can be a catch-22, but I'll give you the book answer is Federal 571-205 states that the etching must be present on each piece of glass. Therefore, and this was probably going back 5 or 6 years ago, we put out guidance that the etching must be legible on the glass. With that being said, I would like to think that we would take the high road, and if there's an issue, people can call me. But if the glass has not been changed and it's been in a bus for 15 years, and we can see some of it, sometimes we have to take a high road. But I'll tell you, the book answer is it must be there and legible. That is by a federal law.
Okay. All right. Is everybody good with that? I'm going to skip ahead here to the question number 10 because it also pertains to the glass. Say in the entrance door glass, the same ones that have the little etching, if there's condensation or moisture in between the panes of glass, is that a failure?
If at the time of inspection, if there's moisture that obstructs any driver's vision, either to the right side or the left side, that is an out of service.
Okay. All right, I'll back up one question here. And this is in regards to the school bus signs. When you have, like we just installed a lot of the new First Light safety school bus signs that are really bright. And when those are installed, they disable the external mounted LED light strip over the rear sign. The sign is now brightly illuminated, but there's an inoperative light strip over the sign. Is this inoperative light strip a failure?
And I'll use this in general. Normally, it would not be a failure. One of the things that should be done during the installation of these First Light school bus signs, if there's an exterior strip that's there, that should be removed during the installation, and the wiring actually taken back in and dealt with properly, or and the hole sealed. So I wouldn't go as far to say it's a failure, but you could look at it as any option that's installed must be working. So to do a clean installation, that strip should be removed and dealt with properly. Close off the wiring and seal up the hole that it may go through.
Okay. Did anybody have anything to add to that? Okay. I'm just going to say it again because we did have 2 more people that joined the meeting. This meeting is being recorded and it's going to be posted to our YouTube channel. So please keep your microphone muted, and unless you have a question, but it is being recorded. Okay. Question number 11. If the plastic cone of a rear airbag comes in contact with the leaf spring, is that a failure?
Actually, I've been speaking to a couple of the manufacturers on this and distributors. And the indication is if everything is adjusted properly, there's no bent parts, there should be no contact between the cone and the spring. If the cone is wearing onto the spring and is actively wearing or it's starting to crack, that will be placed out of service.
Okay, but if it's not wearing into it, it's just touching it. There's no cracks or anything.
That could be a judgment call, but if you're just saying it's touching and it's not wearing, again, it probably would not be out of service. I think each one of those would have to be individually looked at. Again, the distributors and the manufacturers are indicating to me there should be no contact.
Okay. Yeah, I know that a lot of times there's a washer underneath those and it gives it the clearance that it needs. But it was one of the questions.
Yes.
All right. Question number 12. What is the allowable play in a ball joint, wheel bearing, or the controller and idlers? On the smaller buses are the control and idlers.
Yeah. In our regulation, it actually only addresses tie rod ends, which is an eighth of a play detected with movement of two hands. Also, we refer to the OEM specs. So again, our regulations are back in 1999. So if there's any question, it's up to the operator to show us the correct spec for that item, whether it's a ball joint, tie rod end, drag link, and we will go by the OEM specification.
Okay.
Right. And I'll just also, the operator needs to have the tools to check those specs. You know, we can't all stand there and look at it and say by sight that it meets the spec. So you have to have the proper tools to show that it is within spec if there's a question.
Okay. Yeah, I know that we have a gauge for it. But and we've had to use it to prove that it was in illegal limits.
Absolutely. That's all we'll look for is the OEM spec and the tool to show us that it's within spec. That's all we ask.
Yep. Okay. Will be like a dial indicator.
Yes.
All right. Question number 13. If you have a bus that has several different wheelchair plans, what are the correct markings that need to be displayed both inside and outside the bus?
Okay. Basically, in 2019, with cooperation with DMV, we added the driver to the adult seating on a school bus. Any buses prior to that, you did not have to add the driver on the exterior. So currently, any new in-service bus, school bus, should show complete adults, maximum adult capacity, including the driver, maximum child capacity, and if there's any wheelchairs, you need to have the maximum wheelchair capacity. And sometimes on, like you're saying, the different floor plans as far as seating capacity and wheelchairs, we want the maximum showing for the wheelchairs. On the interior, per state ed regulation, the bus must display any approved floor plan that the bus may have. So some of these buses have 10, 11 different floor plans. There has to be approvals for all of those floor plans displayed inside the bus. And I'd like to take it a little step further, which is not in the regulation, but this is for the operator's knowledge. Any approved floor plan that's given through the distributor, you should have written floor plans showing that setup. You just cannot go in and change a wheelchair position around because that works for your school district. It must be approved and you must have the plan to show that. So just to wrap it up, inside the bus, you need to have the exact approvals that's been approved for that bus. And if there's 1 or 10, you must show all of those. On the exterior is maximum capacity only. So again, max adults, including the driver, maximum children, and maximum wheelchairs.
All right, so when we do this, you can, as long as you have the max on the outside, you can take the seats out and to accommodate for fewer or more wheelchairs, even though it's going to alter the capacity of max capacity of children. That's what has to go on the outside of the bus. It's the maximum that it could hold. So we don't have to. So if we take some seats out, we don't have to change the outside.
That's correct. If you look at our regulations, it does state that it must be the setup inside must be shown on the exterior. I'm going back 5, 6, you know the years, Tom? Even maybe 7 years ago, we had a meeting with the distributors and there was concerns about the extra cost for the magnets, or the magnets get lost. And at that point is when it was decided that maximum capacity had to be listed.
Okay. That was the last question that I had received from everyone. That being said, does anybody have any other questions that they would like to have answered today? Now, even if they can't answer it today, Jeff told me he could be at our next meeting and provide answers then.
I do have an additional question that was on the list, Dan.
Yep.
Is the possible installation and use of stop arm cameras? And will or does DOT have any guidance or regulations as far as placement of the cameras, power usage, or anything along those lines? If we remember back in, I believe, fall of 2019, the legislation passed a bill that allows stop arm cameras to be used on school buses. And also it gives the state the ability to actually issue citations to those vehicles. So we have been working with 2 camera manufacturers, which is Bus Patrol and REI, sorry. And they have been installing cameras. Broome County they have about 300 currently installed. Nassau County has about 800 installed. Over the next 4 years, we have predictions that there will be about 7,000 of these cameras installed throughout the state. So to answer the question, yes, they are being installed. Both of those companies do have approved installation guidelines that we have gone through. We did pilot buses. So the cameras are out there installed and are in use currently. I believe the first ones that, to my knowledge, as of May 1st, any violations have actually been getting citations. And the first citation is what I'm told is $250. The school districts, and on top of that, once these cameras are installed, the school district has no responsibility for the cameras. They're installed on your buses, they're locked out, you have no control over the hard drive. That's all the company that installs them to take care of that. So once they're on your bus, they're there. And from, again, what I was told, you don't even have to do any maintenance to it. That is all up to the installer that takes care of the maintenance. So if they stop working, they'll come out and take care of it and they'll repair it. And there's, again, secondhand knowledge, but there is no cost directly to the school district. That is all handled through the installers and the manufacturers.
Okay. I sent you the questions on a few different sheets. I had 13. There's 14. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything at all that you would like to ask?
Dan and Jeff, there was a
Yep.
question that was posted this morning. Could you clarify the out of service sticker that you can't drive the vehicle to and from the repair shop because it's
Yes,
an out of service sticker?
yes. Basically, what happened was the legislator passed down to us at DOT that any bus that was placed out of service with an A defect is not allowed to be driven legally on the highway. As you notice, there's now two certificates. If the bus is placed out of service with an A defect, you get a out of service defect or out of service defect decal that goes on the windshield, and also a highway prohibited decal that goes on the windshield also. That is through the New York State legislation. It's well above my head and even our heads at DOT. The one thing I can say is that we have active communication going through our department on how we can reverse some of that. We gained a little bit of headway, but again, that's all still within our department, and it has to be passed down to the legislation to reverse any of that. But we are actively working on it, and just so the people that know me, I'm from the other side also. I used to work for a contractor, and I see the issues that you guys see with it, but it's well out of our hands.
Okay, yeah, I did see that question this morning. I apologize. I was going off my notes. I didn't make the notes. All right, anybody else have anything? Any questions at all for DOT?
I do.
Pretty quiet.
Bench report.
And again, I guess I'll take up a little bit more time. I just want everyone to know that we're all here to work as a team. DOT has a obligation to follow the regulations that is laid out to us. You guys, as far as in the garages, you do the repairs, you do the best jobs you can, but we need to always work as a team. And I know I've said this at our last roundtables. If there's an issue, it needs to be brought out to my attention or one of the other main office managers. First, go through the area supervisors, see if there's any corrections that can be done, or pass it up the chain. But if we don't hear about it, we can't help it. And it's better sometimes to talk over an item, and you may not like the answer, or we may not like the answer. But again, we're one team. We have different responsibilities, but we're still one team. And I'll say that as long as I'm in this position, that we need to work together as a whole. And, I've learned through the field, there's a lot of good information from all of these years of experience, and it goes a long ways.
Okay, I think there was somebody that did have a question.
Yeah, Christopher Nichols from Spencerport has a question. Go ahead, Chris.
I did, Jeff. How are you guys gonna start cracking down on logos on buses?
The logos, just so everybody's aware, are actually a Department of Motor Vehicle regulation. So Department of Motor Vehicles must approve any logos used on a bus. And even when I get a request, I send it over to my counterpart at DMV. They run it through their office personnel, and sometimes it makes it to their legal, and they will make a determination if it's allowed or not. Now, one thing I want to say is the small decals that they put animals on the side of the bus for the younger students, that has always been allowed. But you get into other decals that's not allowed by law, a lot of these are prohibited. But we do get DMV involved with that.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions? One at all. Has any questions for DOT? Okay, well, if you do come up with any questions, please get them over to me and we will make sure that they get answered. At the next meeting, maybe Jeff can stop in at our next meeting. If we do get some more questions, I'll make sure they get to him. But, so in closing the meeting, I'd like to thank Jeff, Corey, and Tom Ward for taking the time today to answer all of our questions and meet with us. Our next meeting will be held on June 16th. Our presenter is going to be Ryan Hemmant from New York Bus Sales. He's going to be presenting on Cummins Insight. I had a few of you that wanted some training on Cummins Insight, and so here it is. It's going to be at our next meeting.
And actually, Bob Reith is going to do the presentation.
Okay. All right.
I
Perfect.
figured I'd throw that out there.
All right. Well, Bob is going to be doing the presentation, also with New York Bus Sales, I'm assuming. And that'll be our next meeting. That's June 16th. And as always, keep all the training topics coming. We're always looking for, you know, as the Head Mechanics Association, we're trying to give you guys the training that you desire. So if you have any training topics that you would like people to learn about, please get them over to me and we'll get a presentation together. Even if it's, I know a lot of these districts told me that there are new people coming into the mechanical field. So they want, you know, even some basic stuff, some entry training. I mean, we're all in this together. So we all need to work together and grow as a team. So that being said, I'm going to close the meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here today and look for on our YouTube channel, Capital District Head Mechanics Association. Log in, subscribe, and take advantage of it. You know, view the meetings, show them to your colleagues, and we'll see you guys on June 16th.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
No problem at all.
Thanks, Jeff and Tom.
Yes, thank you, Jeff and Tom.
Thanks, everybody.